Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introducing, my name is Rofita Juliana. I am from local TBI 1. I'm here to complete my final semester exam from Miss Anis KOMARIAH, which is about the material contained in the Phonology course. First, I will explain about English phonology. What is about English phonology? Phonology is a science that studies sounds, a branch of linguistics or microlinguistics, and consists of two important parts, namely phonetic and phonemic. I want to explain about phonetic. What is phonetic? Phonetic, the study of production, transmission, and reception of speech sounds. And then phonemic, the study of how the sounds are organized and how they function in a language. Selanjutnya ada voice and voiceless. Voiceless yaitu products when the vocal cords are almost closed and air from the lungs causes them to vibrate, have vibration. All vowels are voiced. And then voiceless are products when the vocal cords are open. All consonants ever is voiceless and voice appear like P and D. Baik, selanjutnya next material kita akan bahas tentang API. Then there is the term API. What is about API? Why do we need API? API or International Phonetic Alphabet. It represents each sound of human speech with a single symbol A and G. We need a system for recording speech sounds accurately. English spelling is very inconsistent. Oke, selanjutnya ada vowel and then consonant. They are vowel and consonants. How to vowel is two sounds products with oral cavity relatively open to the flow of air. And consonants are sound products with a constriction or occlusion in the oral cavity. Selanjutnya masuk ke triphthongs and triphthongs. What is diphthongs? Diphthongs is a sound made by combining two vowels specifically when it starts as one vowel sound and goes to another. Example would be I, house, house, and height. Sedangkan triphthongs from Greek triphthongs, triple sounds. The 5 English triphthongs unlike diphthong. However, triphthongs are not analyzed as separate vowel phonemes. They are interpreted as closing diphthong followed by a schwa. The word royal then consists of 4 phonemes. The next stage of articulation is the where of pronunciation is the location of where sounds are products. We will know where to place our tongue, teeth, and lips when creating sounds. How different sounds involve different parts in the mouth, and how to pronounce all of the consonant sounds in English. The following are the reciprocal terms used in linguistics to describe this bilabial sound formed by both lips coming together. For example, include B, P, and M. Labiodental sounds formed by the bottom lip touching the upper teeth. Example include V and F. Dental sounds formed by the tongue touching the upper teeth. The C are not common in English, although the can sounds like T or D. If you imagine saying Barcelona with a heavy Spanish accent, you may hear it. Selanjutnya ada alveolar sounds formed with the tongue coming into contact with the heart or alveolar ridge immediately behind the upper teeth. The alveolar sounds are common in plosive English sounds such as T, D, and N, and in fricative sounds such as Z. Selanjutnya ada post-alveolar sounds formed with the tongue curled behind the alveolar ridge. For example, include the sh sound in words like ship or the s sound in words like vision. Selanjutnya ada palato-alveolar sounds formed by the tongue in contact with both the roof of the mouth or hard palate and the alveolar ridge. For example, include the T and T sound in crutch and judge. Selanjutnya ada palatal sounds formed by the middle of the tongue up against the hard palate. The T sound is the only consistent example of a palate sound in English. The sounds from the Y in words like yes and yellow. Velar sounds formed by the back of the tongue against the soft palate or velum. Think of the K in kitch or the G in go. The sounds and in words like sing and tongue is also a velar sound. Selanjutnya bagian internal products by the tip of the tongue protruding between the upper and lower teeth. Interdental sound include the sound in words like ting or other, or the in words like this and other. Uvular sound formed by the root of the tongue being raised against the velum. The R in French, saying the word Paris with a broad French accent, or the Arabic Q or G are uvular sound. English does have a uvular sound. Then ada retroflex hair or other plates of articulation which are not really used in English, and the retroflex is one of the hair. The tongue is curled back on itself to create a rolling R sound against the alveolar ridge. Ada glottal sounds formed from the space between the vocal fold or glottis. There is no picture here because it is rather difficult to illustrate. The glottal sound can be heard in the affirmative expression and in certain estuary or cockney accent. It is used to replace the T sound in words like better. Baik, di sini saya akan menjelaskan kembali tentang manner of articulation yang sebelumnya telah disebutkan, yaitu manner of articulation is the how of making sounds when learning our first language. We don't usually think about how we make the sounds we do. We just reproduce what we heard over the first few years of our lives. We make the sounds without thinking how our mouth, tongue, and teeth are doing unless we need the additional support of speech therapy. Yang pertama, nasal consonant. Nasal consonants are created when you completely block air flow through your mouth. Let the air pass through your nose. For example, M, mud, and climb. Oral passage is blocked by closing the lip, bilabial. Selanjutnya ada stop like nasal, consonant. Stop consonants occur when the vocal tract is closed completely, but for stop the airflow is not redirected through the nose. Instead, the air quickly builds up pressure behind the articulators and then released in a burst. For example, P, parse and rap. Oral passage is blocked by closing the lips, bilabial. And K, kid and back, block airflow with the back of the tongue against the soft palate velar. Selanjutnya ada fricative will, nasal and stop consonants involve a complete block of the vocal tract. Fricative sounds involve only a partial blockage of the vocal tract, so that air has to be forced through a narrow channel. For example, V, fine, and have, or air is forced through the upper tip and lower lip, labiodental. Selanjutnya ada avirate. Jadi what is avirate? Avirate consonants start as stop sounds with air building up behind an articulator which the release through a narrow channel as a fricative. For example, T for chick and match is blocked with the tongue just beyond the alveolar ridge, then releases as a fricative. Selanjutnya ada approximants. Approximants are when two articulators come close together, but not quite close enough to create air turbulence. The rustling sound is more like a fastfall than anything else. For example, W, wet and Howard, back of tongue raises to velum but not too close, and lips are rounded, velar. And lateral is a consonant in which the air stream proceeds along the sides of the tongue but is blocked by the tongue from going through the middle of the mouth. For example, latch, place the tip of the tongue at the alveolar ridge. Alveolar. Selanjutnya ada voice and voiceless consonant. Nah, yang pertama pembahasannya yaitu voice. Voice ini pada kata Z, yaitu pada less, and voiceless ini pada kata huruf S, yaitu less. Describing the syllable definitions, Roach states that the syllable is a very important unit in both phonetic and phonology. Skandera and Bartlett sustain that syllable can be probably divided as the smallest rhythmic unit of spoken language. For example, or a unit that is typical large than a single sounds smaller than a word. Baik, next ke bab selanjutnya yaitu nature of the syllables. Roach states that phonetical will look at the way we produce the syllable and the way they sound. We will notice that syllables are usually described as consisting of a center which has little or no obstruction to airflow and which sounds comparatively very low. The difference between strong and weak syllables. Pertama yaitu like, yaitu strong syllables are longer than weak syllables. Yang kedua ada loudness. Strong syllables are louder than weak syllables. Yang ketiga ada quality. strong syllables have vowel the differ in quality from the vowel of weak syllables. Selanjutnya ada the syllable is weak when it has the short vowel sexual. For example, better. The second syllable is weak. Yang kelima, the syllable is weak when it has the close front and crowded vowel. For example, e. Example, city. The second syllable is weak. Yang keenam, the syllable is weak when it has the close backgrounded vowel. For example, u. Thank you. The second syllable is weak. Yang selanjutnya ada the syllable is weak when it has a syllabic consonant M, L, R. For example, cobble. The second syllable is weak. Selanjutnya ada the syllable is weak when it ends with the short vowel and the next syllable starts with a consonant. For example, design. The fourth syllable is weak. Baik, masuk ke bab selanjutnya yaitu phonemic analysis. What is about phonemic analysis? Phonemic analysis is the process of analyzing a spoken language to figure out where these phonemes are, what the allowance are of those phonemes, and what each allowance distributions is. The resulting overall analysis is called phonemicization of the language. Phonemicization represents only one of many possible analyses. Language do not generally have one single unique phonemicization because there are many possible ways of dividing up the phonemes of a language into phonemes. Phonemes are theoretical and abstract concepts. There is no direct way to see if the analysis is correct. In that, some linguists reject the notion of phonemes completely, since it is possible to analyze the phonology of a language without them. Selanjutnya ada intonasi. Intonation is the melody of the sentence. Intonation is created by change is in the pitch of the voice, by sentence stretch, by rhythm. The most important function of intonation are to distinguish types of sentence or statements, question, comments, and requests, and to divide the sentence into sense group, and also allows speaker to express various emotions. Functions of intonation we will now see if it is possible in stating what circumstance the different tones are used within the very limited context of the word yes and no said in isolation. Selanjutnya ada rhythm. What is about rhythm? Rhythm is a form of structure that plays an organizing role in speech. Pitch, loudness, and tempo combine to make up a language. Expression of rhythm in many Oriental language it is pitch, height, phase, low, David's crystal, how language works, assimilations, coordinate with one sounds become phonetical, similar to one adjective sounds that belong to one word can cause change in sounds belonging to other words. When a word pronunciation is affected by sounds, in a neighborhood word. We call this process. Baik, ke bab selanjutnya yaitu assimilations atau assimilations. Connect with one sounds becoming phonetically similar to an adjacent sound that belong to one word can cause change in sounds belonging to other words. When a word's pronunciation is affected by sound in a neighbor word, we call this process efficient. Elision describes the severe range of sound. For example, in the utterance, Hellev's neck weak speaker would generally leave out the T in next, saying next we arrived, next die, a little between and T. When we reached Paris, we stopped for large T, a little B, between T and P, and between P and F. Variation in speech. Language is the raw material used by individual to do communication. Language is a means of communication between members of society in the form of word symbol produced by human speech, namely words. Every language has a guide how two words must be arranged and in order to give meaning. Language is arbitrary. Arbitrary means arbitrary, changeable, not fixed. The term arbitrary means that there is no mandatory relationship between the language symbol and the reference concept or meaning in question. For example, why should there be kuda instead of akut or kadu? In Indonesian, we call it kuda. In English, is horse. In Japanese, it is uma, and in Japanese, it is called jaran. In the difference in mentioning so that the language is arbitrary. Science, language, linguistic. Always science only consists of the similarities to the large units such as spoken language. In other words, science language is a linguistic system that is not based on a spoken language system. Speaker's point of view of the variety of language. Number 1, variety of dialect, variation of the language used by a group aristocrats in Curtine's pledge. Number 2, learned varies the level of educational of Indonesian speaker, also influence the use of Indonesian. Number 3, official varieties, language used in official situation. Okay, thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.